Welcome back to preview Saturday afternoon's Premier League match between Leicester City and West Ham United. Pascal, start with the home side, played really well but lost at Spurs last time out.
It was a decent performance. You know, they fought back well, didn't they? They conceded those two early goals to Harry Kane. Obviously, he went on to score the hat-trick, but yeah, obviously to go 2-0 down within 15 minutes like that was a disappointing start, and given that they are bottom of the table, not many people would have given them a chance, but they did fight back really well. Vardy with a nice finish, and Wes Morgan powering that header in from the corner to bring it back to 2-2, and then they concede that penalty, a bit of a dodgy decision, you know, sort of more of a clash of legs really than a foul if anything, but obviously the referee gave it, Kane stuck the penalty away, and that's his hat-trick, and then White Hart Lane's bouncing again. Spurs go 4-2 up, and then, Leicester, they do get that late consolation. Great finish from Nugent, it was, in the 90th minute, but it was too little too late by then, and, another loss for them, and, going to Spurs, not who would have picked them to win that game, but, I think they would have drawn on the experience they had in the FA Cup there in January when they went to White Hart Lane and came back, late on to beat Spurs in the FA Cup. That was a surprise result, and there was elements of that in the game, but they still didn't quite do enough, and it's another defeat and still really struggling down there.
I think if you look at Leicester, and they're quite naive away from home sometimes. I saw them play against Arsenal earlier in this, not too long ago, a couple of months ago. They played really well, but they get beat. It's all very well playing well, but if you're getting beat every week, it's 8 league games without a win now, 7 points from safety, sitting bottom of the table. Have got a game in hand, but that's obviously against Chelsea, so it's not the easiest game. But you're thinking you're getting to the stage of the season, 8 games left. It's sort of now or never. It's not quite terminal, is it, for them? But they're getting cut adrift. There's obviously the battle to stay in the league is very close, with the likes of Burnley and QPR obviously battling, and Sunderland, etc., Villa. But Leicester are just like I mentioned, they're getting beat all the time, and they're playing well, and they've got some good players going forward, plenty of attacking talent. Cambiasso midfield's had a decent season, he's obviously a great player, but at the back they just concede too many goals, and they're almost, in many ways, not comparing to Arsenal, but the way they all break forward at certain times, when maybe it should be better to just take a breather and set up. But obviously at home playing West Ham, it's probably the game they have to win, probably.
They do, but their home form hasn't been great this season. That's the problem. A team at the bottom like that, you need to base most of your points have to come at home. You look at QPR, that's what they've done this season. That's the only reason why they're not completely cut adrift, because they were really good at home in sort of the first half of the season. But Leicester really haven't been. In the sort of first month of the season, they were good at home. They had those draws against Arsenal, Everton, beat United in that, obviously 5-3, a really great game for them. But since then, it's been really poor. They haven't scored in their last 3 games at home, and that's something you have to do. You always have to score a goal at least, and that gives you the chance of obviously getting a draw or a win. But to not score in their last 3 obviously means you can't win a game. So that's so disappointing for them. And we always talk about it, when a team at the bottom, they have to do so much better at home. That's where the bulk of your points are going to come from, but it hasn't worked out for Leicester this season. Nigel Pearson, it just hasn't, he hasn't quite got what he wanted out of his players. You look at the signings they've made, you wonder if they were the right sort of players. You look at players like Ulloa, who came in last summer, obviously a really good championship player last season, but he's still quite new to the English game. For him to then make that step up to the Premier League, it hasn't really worked out. He did start the season well, but it's gone off the ball since then. And then you bring in someone like Kramaric, who's obviously got a good record in the league he was in Europe, but he hasn't quite adapted. He's shown little bits of sort of quality, but he hasn't quite. You wonder if they've got that sort of real drive and desire, and the rest of the players, you look at them, and you think maybe just good championship quality, but not quite good enough for the Premier League, unfortunately. Yeah,
you mentioned at home form. I think they scored 3 goals in the last 9 at home. You're thinking they've got a lot of forward players, but not finding the back of the net in front of their own supporters. Moving on to West Ham, last time out against Sunderland, it was West Ham were in poor form themselves. Beat Sunderland 1-0. It was first win in 8 in the league, but obviously Sunderland going into the game with Dick Advocaat's first game in charge, and set up his team nice and tight, obviously after the morning get home to Villa before, which led to Gus Poyer's sacking. And to be honest, it was a bit of a nothing game. There was chances. I think Connor Wickham played quite well, had a couple of chances, and nothing. It looked like for all the world it was going to end in a 0-0 draw, which obviously would have disappointed the fans, because, like I say, West Ham been in poor form. I think they were up in 4th, weren't they, around Boxing Day, Christmas, and people talking about finishing top 4. Terrible run of form since then, almost dropping into the bottom half of the table, so sitting in 9th at the moment. But Sakho got the goal last time. I think that was really important, because he has had a good start to the season, but dropped off a bit, didn't he? And Valencia's obviously injured. We all know about Carroll's problems and people like Downing dropping off. So very important win last time out. Didn't play very well, but to get back to winning ways, obviously massively important.
Definitely, their home form's been better than their away form this season. Recently away from home, they haven't won any of their last 7 games, and you look at Sam Allardyce's team, it's usually sort of associated with good defence and that sort of thing, but this season there's only 1 clean sheet in their last 20 away games, so that's just not good enough from Allardyce, and he'll know that from his players. And you wonder, if the season does peter out and they drop down to 10th, 11th in the table, is his time up? You wonder, maybe, because there's talk of him, Sunderland wanting him in the summer, maybe, so it'd be interesting to see if West Ham decide to maybe try something new, because I mean, I think it's banged on about too much that the West Ham fans want, this exciting brand of football. The first half of the season, when they were up near the top four, they were playing exciting football, And I think it was, but the fans still said it's not exactly how we want it. But I think you had to credit Allardyce for the job he did in the first half of the season, getting West Ham into that sort of, not necessarily the top four race, but right up there in the sort of top 6-7 clubs. Since then, not been great. Obviously, like I said, the away form's not been good enough. They haven't won any of the last 7 away games, so they want to improve that here. But we talked about Leicester's bad home form, West Ham's poor away form, so it's going to be tough to pick a winner in this one.
You touched on Allardyce, and you mentioned how he's obviously done in the managerial game, but you talk about Bolton and Blackburn, what he did there, finishing top European football at Bolton, and look where they've gone since then. So I know that he'll be short of offers, will he, if he does go, but it's a massive game, a lot of big games this weekend. This is another big one. What's your score prediction?
I think I'm going to have to back West Ham here. Leicester, I think there might be that sinking feeling in some of the players' minds that we are gone now, even though they've got that game in hand. I think 7 points is a massive gap to claw back, and when you look at other sides, Burnley just look a bit better at the moment. There's more drive in that Burnley team. I think QPR, they might be joining Leicester soon, but when you go above that, Sunderland have got a new manager, Villa obviously improving under Sherwood, Hull, they're doing okay on the Steve Bruce, then it's like Pulis with West Brom, and I think at the moment Leicester do look down and out, so I'm going to have to back a West Ham win here, 2-0.
2-0. I'm actually going to go for Leicester in this one. Looking at, probably say they have to win this game, and I think in front of their fans, just got a sneaky feeling they might just do it. I don't think it'll be comprehensive. I think it's going to nick it 1-0 though. It's got 1 win for Leicester and 1 for West Ham. Thanks for joining us.